Throughout history, a number of insane punishment methods have been used by humans. In today's episode, we'll take a look at a bone-chilling punishment called the Cradle of Judah, which is probably the most horrific punishment in history. During the medieval ages in China, a popular execution method was called ling chi, or death by 1,000 cuts. This method involved tying up a person to a wooden pole and slicing off flaps of their skin and limbs one by one through a sharp knife. The executioner sometimes would cut off the victim's fingers by each joint, but oftentimes they would just cut off the entire limb at once. Death from this method was extremely painful and gradual, and so the method became successful in reducing the crime rate in medieval China. Another unimaginable torture method was known as Scaphism, which emerged in ancient Persia and was considered to be the most disgusting punishment ever. To be executed by this method, a person was laid down in a wooden boat and was then covered with another boat from upside so that his limbs and head would remain outside. He was then forcefully fed a lot of honey and milk in order to provoke diarrhea and was left to float on stagnant water. Soon enough, flies and other dangerous insects would be drawn to the smell of feces and honey, stinging and laying eggs on the victim's head and limbs. This punishment continued for weeks. The victim eventually died of dehydration and insect bites. However, if you thought these punishments were the height of cruelty, you might want to reconsider because the worst is yet to come. The Cradle of Judah was actually a sadistic chair that no one would want to sit on. It looked more like a stool with 3 or 4 legs and a flat base resting on the top of these legs. On that base was a pyramid-shaped iron piece with a very sharp and pointed top, joined strongly with the stool base. As per the historical records, it was first invented in Spain in the early 16th century and then quickly spread to other parts of the world. Though there were a few different variants of this chair around the world as well, the core principle was the same for all. In order to be executed, the victim was forced to sit on the top of the chair in such a way that the point of the pyramid would be directed at his rear orifice. If it was a woman, she might be forced to sit with the point on her vaginal orifice. The victim was then tied with ropes and gradually lowered onto the spike using natural gravity. The punishment often started at night, and the victim was left on the chair till the morning. Most of the victims died of the excruciating pain and the excess bleeding, and even if some of them survived the penetration, the wounds were so severe that they would later die of the infections inside their anus. These infections were caused due to the lack of cleaning of the pyramid's top, resulting in the previous victim's blood and bodily remains being present. The chair was often used for interrogation rather than execution. It proved to be an extremely successful method for extracting information from anyone, as only the thought of sitting on that scary chair would make anyone spill the beans. At times, additional weights were tied to the victim's legs in order to make the penetration process quick and more painful. The torturers applied different other tactics as well in order to make the process a lot more unsettling. In France, they had a practice where the victims were forced to clench their muscles in order not to faint and experience maximum pain. And if a person would still faint after enduring enough pain, he would be taken off the chair only to be brought back on it after waking up. Historians often argue about when these chairs were used and on whom. Though the historical records are not clear, the remaining chairs of that time exhibited in European museums prove that the punishment existed for sure. According to several historians, a similar kind of punishment was common in some parts of Asia as well, notably in Thailand and Sri Lanka. There it was called the bamboo torture, in which the victim was tied over a fast-growing bamboo root that grew straight into his body. The Cradle of Judah is enough to send a chill down anyone's spine, even in today's modern age. Thankfully, humans have come out of such a dark phase, and such punishment methods do not exist today. And that's a wrap for Cradle of Judah, the worst punishment in human history. We'll be back with another exciting episode, but until then, goodbye.